Here we will see CheckBoxList server control in ASP.NET. ASP.NET CheckBoxList is a web control that can be used to collect the items that can be checked, thus giving the user the ability to select multiple items simultaneously. This list of items in the checkbox list can be dynamically generated using data binding function. The checkbox list class is derived from the class system.web.ui.webcontrols.listControls. The checkbox list can be created using the design section by dragging and dropping the control from the ASP.NET toolbar window, or else it can also create from the markup section using the code ASP tag checkbox list ID, the name of the checkbox, run at server. Different properties of ASP.NET checkbox list are: first is ID, which gets or sets the programmatic identifier assigned to the server control. Access key gets or sets the access key that allows user to quickly navigate to the web server control. If the auto postback property is set to true, an auto postback will occur whenever the user selects a checkbox in the list. Back color property gets or sets the background color of the web server control. Border color gets or sets the border color of the web control. Border style gets or sets the border style of the web server control. Border width is used to gets or sets the border width of the web server control. Cell padding property gets or sets the distance in pixels between the border and the content of the cell. Cell spacing is used to gets or sets the distance in pixels between the cells. CSS class is used to gets or sets the cascading style sheet class rendered by the web server control on the client. Items property gets the collection of items in the list control. Item type gets or sets the name of the data item type for strongly typed data binding. Text property is used to gets or sets the selected value property of the list control. Text align is used to gets or sets the text alignment for the checkboxes within the group. Tooltip is used to gets or sets the text displayed when the mouse pointer hovers over the web server control. Repeat columns gets the number of columns to display in the checkbox list. Repeat direction property sets the direction in which the controls in the checkbox list are displayed, that is vertically or horizontally. Repeat layout specifies how the list will be rendered either with the table element, UI element, or a span element. Text align property specifies the text alignment of the items in the checkboxes. Items property gets the collection of items from the list. Data member property gets or sets the specific table in the data source to bind the control. Data source property gets or sets the data source that populate the items of the list control. Enabled property gets or sets a value indicating whether the web server control is enabled. Font property is used to gets or sets the font properties associated with the web server control. Forecolor property gets or sets the foreground color, that is, color of the text of the web server control. Repeated item count shows the total number of items in the list. Different events for checkbox list controls are: selected index changed, which occurs when the selection from the list control changes between post to the server. Text change event occurs when the text and selected value property change. Checked change event occurs when the value of the checked property changes between post to the server. Data binding event occurs when the server control binds to a data source. Disposed event occurs when a server control is released from memory, which is the last stage of the server control lifecycle. Init event occurs when the server control is initialized, which is the first step in the lifecycle. Load event occurs when the server control is loaded into the page object. And pre-render event occurs after the control object is loaded but prior to the rendering. Pre-render event occurs after the control object is loaded but prior to rendering. Different methods for checkbox list controls are data bind, which binds a data source to the invoked server control and all its child control. Dispose method enables a server control to perform final cleanup before it is released from the memory. Equals method determines whether the specified object is equal to the current object. Focus method sets the input focus to the control. Onload method raises the load event. And toString method returns a string that represents the current object.